was sat in the orchard when Mrs. Rachel came, wandering at her own sweet will through the lush, tremulous grasses, splashed with ruddy evening sunshine, so that good lady had an excellent chance to talk her illness fully over, describing every ache and pulse beat with such evident enjoyment that Marilla thought even grit must bring its compensations. When the details were exhausted, Mrs. Rachel introduced the real reason of her call. "I have been hearing some very surprising things about you and Matthew." "I don't suppose you're any more surprised than I am myself," said Marilla. "I'm getting over my surprise now." "It is too bad there was such a mistake," said Mrs. Rachel sympathetically. "Couldn't you have sent her back?" "Well, I suppose we could have, but we decided not to. Matthew took a fancy to her, and I must say I like her myself, although I do admit she has her faults. The house seems a different place already. She's a real bright little thing." Marilla had said more than she had intended to when she began, for she read disapproval in Mrs. Rachel's expression. "It's a great responsibility you've taken upon yourself," said that lady gloomily, "especially when you have had no experience with children before. I don't suppose you know much about her or her real disposition, and there is no telling how a child like that will turn out. But I don't want to discourage you, I'm sure, Marilla." "I'm not feeling discouraged," was Marilla's dry response. "When I make up my mind to do a thing, it stays made up. I suppose you'd like to see Anne. I'll call her in." Anne came running in presently, her face sparkling with the delights of her orchard rovings, but abashed at finding herself in the unexpected presence of a stranger. She halted confusedly inside the door. She was certainly an odd-looking little creature in her short, tight, wincey dress she had worn from the asylum, below which her thin legs looked ungracefully long. Her freckles were more numerous and obtrusive than ever, and the wind had ruffled her hatless hair into an over-brilliant disorder. It had never looked redder than at that moment. "Well, you didn't pick her for her looks, that's sure and certain," was Mrs. Rachel's emphatic comment. Mrs. Rachel was one of those delightful and popular people who prided themselves in speaking their minds without fear or favor. "She is terribly skinny and homely, Marilla. Come here, child, and let me have a look at you. Lawful heart, did anyone ever see such freckles? And hair as red as carrots. Come here, child, I say." Anne came there, but not exactly as Mrs. Rachel expected. With one bound, she crossed the kitchen floor and stood in front of Mrs. Rachel, her face scarlet with anger, lips quivering, her whole slender form trembling from head to foot. "I hate you!" she cried, stamping her foot on the floor. "I hate you! I hate you! I hate you!" A louder stamp with each assertion of hatred. "How dare you call me skinny and ugly? How dare you say I'm freckled and red-headed? You are a rude, impolite, unfeeling woman." "Anne!" exclaimed Marilla in consternation. But Anne continued to face Mrs. Rachel undauntedly, head up, eyes blazing, fists clenched, passionate indignation exhaling from her like an atmosphere. "How dare you say such things about me? How would you like to have such things said about you? How would you like to be told that you are fat and clumsy and probably have the spark of imagination in you? And I don't care if I hurt your feelings by saying so. I hope I hurt them, for you've hurt mine worse than they've ever been hurt before, even by Mrs. Thomas's intoxicated husband, and I will never forgive you for it. Never, never." "Did anyone ever see such a temper?" exclaimed Marilla in consternation. "Anne, go to your room and stay there until I come up," said Marilla, recovering her powers of speech with difficulty. Anne, bursting into tears, rushed to the hall door, slammed it until the tins on the porch wall outside rattled in sympathy, and fled through the hall and up the stairs like a whirlwind. A subdued slam above told that the door of the east gable had been shut with equal vehemence.